Good morning, hope you're okay this morning. It's great to join with you. And today we're doing our next person in the Faithful Hall of Fame, and that is Abraham. And Abraham, if you've seen the video or not yet, has a great story around him. You can find him in Genesis. Today we're focusing on Genesis 17, 1 to 7. And in this section, in Genesis 17, verse 5, God changes Abraham's name. And we're going to think about that today. And I've got a little activity for you to do about that. But I want you to think about your name. Your name. Do you know what your name actually means? Do you know why you are called what you are? And I want you to have a think about that, because you know God calls you by name. There's a verse in the Bible in Isaiah 43 that says God calls you by name. He doesn't call you en masse. He doesn't call you with your church. He doesn't call you with your family. He doesn't call you with your school. He calls you by name. He calls me Shelley. He calls my name. And there's something really special when somebody says your name. I used to be a teacher in a primary school, and it was really important that quite soon I learned everybody's names, because their name was really, really important. And you know, in the Bible, names are also really important, and quite often people had their names changed to represent the promise that God had given them. And so in this bit we have Abraham, who used to be called Abram, and Abram meant exalted father or high father, important father, but he gets his name changed to Abraham, which actually means father of nations, father of many. So he's not just this high father, but he's going to be father of many nations, many children. And this was a promise that God made to Abraham, that there wouldn't be just him, but there would be more children and more children to follow on that promise of God and to follow God and what he has for them. So that was really encouraging for Abraham. So do you know what your name actually means? I have two children who are both named after gardens, and there's a story behind that. My name, Shelley, I was named Shelley, not Michelle. And if you look up Shelley, it actually says it's from the medieval Old English for by the edge of the meadow. Now, a few people who know me might say, yes, Shelley's pretty much on the edge a lot of the time. So maybe that's true. Also, there is something I love about the outside and being free in a big space. So maybe that's the meadow part, who knows? So what does your name mean? So what we're going to do today is we're going to make our name. Now, this is for everybody. This isn't just if you're little. This is if you're big as well. And what I would like you to do really quickly, if you've got some colouring things, you can do it now. Or if you haven't got colouring things, you could make it out of stones or pebbles or do something quite creative to write your name. If you can't spell your name, hopefully there'll be somebody in your house that can, and they can help you. So what I've done, a little bit like Blue Peter, here's one I made earlier. Always wanted to say that. And so this is Shelley, and I coloured it in. And what I'd like you to do is write your name or make it or out of objects or do something like that. And as you are doing it, I want you to remember today that God calls you by your name. And that's really important, because he has called you to do some good works that he has prepared in advance for you to do. And sometimes I think we forget that in all the other stuff that's going on at the moment, and all the busyness, or maybe even in all the quiet, because all the things we would normally do aren't happening right now and we forget. And so what I'd like you to do is do your name, and as you're doing your name, see if you can hear God and see if he can speak to you about your name. And I want you to put it up somewhere in the house through the week, so that whenever you see it, you remember that God has called you by name to do good works that he has prepared in advance for you to do. It does remind me a little bit, it's funny in names, there's in quite a few films people had names added on or names changed. It's getting quite sunny, isn't it, here? It's quite good. So we quite like the line The Witch and the Wardrobe, whereas at the end of that story, Lucy isn't just Lucy, she's Lucy the Valiant because of how she fought through that film. Or we've got Susan the Gentle because of how she is. So what would you be? And of course in that film, when Aslan tells them their name, he puts a crown on their head. And in a way, this is what God was doing with Abraham. He was saying to Abraham, he didn't have a physical crown, he didn't give him a physical crown to put on his head, but he gave him this land and he gave him this promise. And God gives that to us too. He gives us a promise that he will be with us forever and it will help us in the purposes that he has given us and in the things that you're good at and the new things that you're going to learn with him. So be encouraged today that God calls you by name. And remember that in the difficult times and in the happy times. And I would love to see your pictures and what you have created. So we will put up that email that we used a little while ago about the news pics. Or you can put it on the Facebook page, or if you've got my details, just send it through. We would love to see this collection of names of people that God has called. Have a go, enjoy it, and see what happens. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.